Hello and welcome to another edition of A Lot of Help. That's with two T's, not one. I'm James Lott Jr., your certified life coach, professional organizer, and media extraordinaire. And I have a guest. I'm glad to be back with some people again. And this person is. You think I have a lot of titles? Let's see what all these titles here. I'm getting them, girl. I'm gonna do this. Highly intuitive trauma recovery coach. I love that. Assertiveness coach. Love that. Mentor, functional medicine nutritionist, public speaker, of course. Filmmaker, director, producer, writer, Starseed. We don't know what that is. And I'm so happy to have it. I just love her name. Her name is it's a great name. Linn Rivers. Linn, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much.
You also are a conscious media producer too. That's all there. So there's a lot of different titles. So what happens with me when people read my titles, because I have a lot of titles also and things that I've done. How does that feel when you hear them all at once? Like people start reading stuff out to you because you're not living this you're living it every day. You're not thinking about all these titles, but like, what does that feel like when you hear that?
You know, it's so interesting to hear because it's all of the steps that I have gone through to get to where I'm at today, and to hear all of the things that I have done. It's just like this, like, how did I possibly do that in this short of time?
I know, totally. I can relate to that. It's like I always tell people, I'm tired now. I did all
I know,
that. I do that.
I know. Exactly. Yes.
But it's great though because you're like there's a lot of us out there who we live life and we kind of collect experiences along the way that could be added on to our titles and the things that we do. So I think it's very interesting that you just said that these are the things that you've done along the way. This is your life, Linn.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that. I do want to start with, and this is not for any kind of exploitative reason or anything. I'm just very curious. The Starseed thing. I did go to your website and I read about that, and I've always been a person who has believed that we're arrogant as Earthlings to think that we are the only people in the whole entire universe of all the universes and the galaxies, that we're the only people or only entities or only spirits or whatever words you want to use in there. So what is that? What are your feelings on that?
Starseed.
Yes.
So I have from a very young age known that I was not from here. And my first experience with knowing, like actually having the physical evidence, was when my mom died and I was 15 years old. It was actually 4 days after my 15th birthday, and I saw a spaceship up in the sky as I was driving home, and I had this download. Like, it was just like she was telling me I'm fine, and it came down super quick to be in sight of my view. Then it went back up and shot across the sky, and then it just took off. And I didn't even, like, there was no amount of panic. It was just like this, like, oh, okay, got it. Like, I didn't even think twice about what had just happened. It just kind of, and then I started having the experiences of them actually taking me back home to do healing on me because I was a mess. I was really, a lot of my life had been spent in trauma. Yeah. And so they've only let me come back up twice. They do a healing on me. And every time I ask, does that mean I have to go back?
Like, I want to go back. I want to go back there. Like, oh.
Yeah. And they're like, yes, you still need to go back. And so it's been this process. And ever since I was little, though, I've always said, I want to go home. And my family would be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're home. And I'm like, no, I'm not home. And there are very few people who actually have the knowing that they're starseeds. There are a lot of them here.
Yeah.
But there are very few who are actually awake to it. And it's one of those processes where you have to really just do your work and come out of that shadow period in order to, like, understand where you're from and why you're here, more importantly.
Well, I feel like it's very similar to folks who are trans, who feel like they're not in the body they're supposed to be in, or folks who feel all kinds of things where something happens and it isn't scary. It's like all of a sudden I always call it the click. The click happens, and you're just like, oh, okay, that explains everything. I mean, it could be. I know folks who didn't know they were adopted, and all these other things. All these things. I feel like it's relatable in the sense that people who feel something strongly, you should take it seriously. If they're feeling something strongly, if like they're in the right space or the right this or right that, there must be something to it. You can't just miss it. There must be something to it.
Well, and that's actually one of the more interesting things about being a starseed is one of the most pivotal moments of being here on Earth is not identifying with the human body. So a lot of starseeds have gender identity issues very early on in
Oh,
life.
interesting. Okay.
So like for myself, I was like, why are you making me pick being a female or a male? Like I was really like, because the planet that I'm from, we're extremely androgynous beings, which is funny because I'm a very androgynous person.
Right, no, you are. Again, exactly.
And,
Right. I love it.
and
I love it.
as a kid, I was just like, I cannot pick. Like, this is torture. Like, it really tortured me. And I think a lot of people who identify even as trans on this planet, they are never satisfied still. Like, even when they transition, there is still a dissatisfaction deep within them because there's like this, like, but this still doesn't feel right. Like, it doesn't feel whole.
Interesting.
And yeah, so a lot of star seeds do come into like being forced into a mold, regardless of what it is. And so it's like learning about the balance of the body and being like, okay, well, I'm here on Earth and it's a masculine, feminine world.
Oh, yeah.
And so where's my balance in it? Like, I don't have to be either or. I'm, you know, I'm in my balance, and it doesn't matter which way I came into this world as, there would still be a disconnect to this body.
God, that is so okay. I've done 500 episodes of these shows, whatever. That's the first time that really got me thinking about that. Like, wow, that you're having to choose. And I know folks who on another level about sexual orientation, where many of them choose a label because that's what society wants to identify you with, because it's easy for society to go, you're this.
Right.
Everybody feel comfortable, everybody happy and smiley. But I hate labels. But there are folks who I know that have said that they still, like you just said it, where they're like, I'm choosing this word outwardly for folks, but I'm actually these 4 or 5 things.
Right.
At any given moment, right? And so, they're not that satisfied, and they've told me they're not that satisfied with it. They
because
wish
it doesn't matter.
Right.
It just doesn't matter. It doesn't, because I could say, in this planet, I relate to being gay. Like it's just easy. It's an easy thing. I'm attracted to women. Yet on the other spectrum where I'm identifying more in my masculine, like, then what does that say about me, right? So it's like the straight or gay, it's like, that's what it comes down to.
No, I get, I'm 51. I've been around a while. I do get the back in the day where certain labels were very important politically. Like you had to identify, excuse my language, a dyke, or you're gay or queer. Or there's all these words used because it was or black or white. Like there were certain things that had to be said because the rights were not there. It was just so bad. This doesn't even get kind of like a piece of a right in the world. We had to pick a label to go advancement. But I've seen this. You must not be surprised then that now at this level, people are trying to dismantle that, aren't they? They're trying to I love it. I mean, it's a big thing now. Just like I hear demisexual and pansexual and this sexual. I mean, everybody's kind of, and I don't want to. I'm just call me they and call me. I love it. I think I love it. I'm saying, but are you not surprised that we're at this point where people are starting to?
I think, unfortunately, it's just another way to categorize ourselves, though, instead of just being like,
okay,
we're human. Like, it doesn't matter. Everyone, they think they're stepping outside of the box to call themselves something new, but they're just creating another label. Like, that's all people are ever doing, is just creating more and more levels instead of saying, I'm me, I like this person, who cares? Like, I don't need to identify as anything. Like, it's just another process that people are trying to put inside another box. Like, the more we try to step outside of boxes, the more we put ourselves in other boxes instead of just like being like, this is me.
You just blew my mind right now. You just blew my mind. You're right. You're totally right. You're right. I can't refute that. You're completely right about that. And again, I guess, some of it is, again, still political. Some of it is there's reasoning they have to choose that. So
right. And exactly. And it's just part of playing the political game. It's like, you either play it and you have to like step into what they're expecting you to, which means selecting all of these different things, or you just say, this is me. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to say anything other than this is me. Like, I don't need to explain anything about myself to you other than this is me.
Oh my God, Lynn, I'm telling you, I'm just blown away right now. That's so true. That's very true. So leading that into I always feel like I always talk about generational trauma, which I'm sure you know all about that kind of stuff. I feel like this is part of that, isn't it? We're being handed down from each of our different, I want to say ancestors, different generations. That's what I want to say. This generational trauma, because you are a trauma recovery coach. So are we needing to recover from these things passed down to us these days? And that's why we're in this state?
Yes and no. A lot of it stems from, everything's always yes and no, right? There's always two sides to everything. And the bigger thing with trauma is, yes, we are taking what our parents handed down to us. And we don't, like, society likes to take it a lot of steps further and say, oh, but our ancestors and everything. But it's only what we learned from our parents. Our parents learned it from them, yes, but then they took on what they chose and they shifted what they wanted. And then they passed down what they felt they should. And we do have to sort through that and ask ourselves like questions every single step of the way. Is this actually what I believe? Is this true to myself? Or did someone tell me this, right? And that comes from society and our parents. But the bigger thing is people are creating their own victim mentality because of political views, right? We shove ourselves in saying like, I'm being attacked because I'm gay or this or that. And it's like, no, you're not a victim. Like the only person who has control over your life is yourself, you know, but we start victimizing ourselves. And I put myself in the victim stance for
We've all done
a
it.
portion of my life because it's easy, because we have fingers to point every which direction, right? But it's that moment of owning our trauma and seeing what it has to teach us and realizing that no one else has control over it. We're only being victimized because we're allowing ourselves to be. And that is where like the most of our trauma comes from, is allowing other people to dictate that we have that trauma, right? And it's the only way to like navigate that is to actually go inwards and not accept what other people are telling us, not even listen to the gurus or people who think everything is black and white. It's like, no, nothing is black and white. Our traumas are multi-layered, and it takes just internal guidance and not following social views on what is, you know, what is standard and what's victimizing and what's actually hurting us, but like, what did we actually, you know, overcome? Like my family died, a big portion of them died before I was 15. It's like, okay, that I didn't get to choose, but how I'm still seeing myself as a victim because they all left me, right? And so like I had to work through that and see like, no, this was part of my growth. This was part of my evolution to become who I am, and then later teach people about death and the beauty behind it and why it's a necessity. And so it's like all of those things. We have those traumas, we have to overcome them, but it's not just what we've been handed down to us, what we've created for ourselves too.
You know, one of the clicks for me was about 10 years ago, a little longer, maybe 11, 12 years ago. I realized that I had to stop looking at the world as it's being done to me.
Exactly.
You said, I was like, that was and I had, therapy helped. Nothing wrong with therapy, folks.
Right.
Therapy, it did help. But that's what I came to, was like, well, this was done to me. They're doing this to me. This is to me. The you know, the relationships, the parents, the jobs, everything was being done to me.
Right.
So that validated whatever feelings I had about, but I didn't need to do that. As I let I go, no, it's not being done. These things are happening. They happen to everyone, basically. And now they're happening to me. So how I should look at it that way, so that I'm on my journey.
It's happening.
Ups and downs they're gonna come all the time. Ups and downs are gonna happen all the time, right? They're just gonna always happen. And other people's energies are gonna come into your orbit, whether you're at home or not at home. It's like, they're not coming to attack you. It's that you encounter this, and now is how do you handle it?
Right.
How do you look at it, right? That's the whole point of turning that around.
Right. And so like the saying is, it's happening for you, not to you, right? Like, because everything that we experience is a lesson for us, and we chose it before coming here. Like, regardless of what planet you originate from, we all chose the lessons on this planet to work through, because it's part of our evolution. And so when things are happening to us, we think that there's nothing that we can do about it. But when we realize that it's actually happening for us, we can stop and be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I'm able to overcome this. And then it like progresses you along your path. And the more that you realize that things are happening for you, you stop encountering those situations on a regular basis. Like you no longer encounter the people who are, calling you out in public in a negative way, or you're not encountering the people who are putting you down. Those things fall away when you're no longer victimizing yourself. Like it's powerful.
I know it is, and I know I have people in my life. I won't out them. I have people in my life on here who who you are. No, who still just, I mean, it's the same story, and it becomes their story. That's their becomes their identity. That every relationship I have is always bad. They always like do this same. Well, folks, there's a pattern there somewhere in there. You're the common denominator and all that. So it's like there's something going on there too. Not even putting the blame on him. Just saying there's something. It takes two to have this experience.
Exactly.
And so when you're saying that, I'm thinking of them just going. The same jobs are always end the same. It's the same thing. The boss did this. It's always the same thing. It's like, well, then where's your part in it? Like, what's going on? And you're right. I would not be who I am today, right now, as we're taping this at 10:17 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, if it hadn't been for everything from the time I was born to a minute ago. I mean, I wouldn't be who I am. I couldn't even imagine. I mean, even though the things in my past I've talked about openly on my shows that in some ways wish didn't happen, but now they did happen, and I'm the better for it.
Right. And it takes a lot of respect to own that too. Yeah. Right. And it's difficult. A lot of people, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people ask me, like, would you take any of it back? I'm like, of course not. Like, this is my journey. And do I miss my partner? Do I miss all these people who died? Yes, I do. And yet, like, they had their own journey. Like, their journey was separate. I have absolutely no control over that. And I'm so thankful to have the level of awareness that I do today because of all of that. Because I have met people who have been through very little trauma in their life, and their awareness in this world, like, I don't want to, I'm not saying that it's...
I understand, girl.
It's just, it's really hard to connect with people who have never been through anything because they can't reach the deep levels. They don't understand what it means to experience pain. And they just live on a completely different vibration. It is completely different.
I have a friend. I mean, she's a good friend, but she's on that plane, and she's around my age, and I'm just like, she's really never gone through anything that that serious yet. I guess. I mean, it never happened. Now I'll be curious to see how she handles that when it does happen. But right now, she hasn't anything that serious. She's had things, but not that serious.
Right.
That we can't relate on a lot of stuff. I mean, I love her to death. She's like family. I love her and stuff, but we only go so far.
Exactly.
We don't go deep. It's just we go so far. And at first I fought it for a while, and then I realized I had to lean into it and go, well, this is her. As you said, it's her journey. This is her experience. I can't judge her for it or whatever. That's just what she does. So even though I'm different than that, and actually her husband, I connect deeper. We have more deeper connection than she and I do. But that again, and it's funny you say, because I've had a lot of loss in my life also and stuff, and I look at like a Jenga, Jenga, that whole game, we pull things out. If I did take something away, like I was raped at my point, left for dead. I was paralyzed on one side. I mean, all these things happened in my life. If I take them out, then I wouldn't be who I am, and then I'd fall apart. Probably. I mean, if I take just one piece out, like you say, go back and change it, but then my whole world would be different now. Then you would
just be stagnant.
Right.
Yeah.
So
things need to be rebuilt.
Rebuilt. They do. I always say, out of tragedy and crisis, beauty can be born. I say it all the time. And
always.
COVID was an example for me because my whole world stopped on March 17th when all my career is just like, we're done for now. That I had to reinvent myself, and now I'm doing better now. But it was like I had to start from the ground up and be creative. A lot of my people in my field have been really creative. Even life coach, everybody had to be creative and kind of go, what do we do? How do we do business? How does this work? But if that hadn't happened, some great things came out of that this last 6 months for me that I hadn't even maybe not thought of before.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. I do.
And, I just wanted to touch on the fact where you said, like, what's going to happen to your friend when she actually does have to go through something. And that's the sad thing, is a lot of people who don't go through trauma at some point, at least before they're 30, they don't know how to handle it. Like it shakes their entire foundation, and then everything else starts crumbling. and they have a harder time rebuilding. And that is, a lot of people have told me, like, if I had been through even like 3 or 4 of the things that you've been through, I would have gotten back up.
Yeah.
Like I would have, right? Yeah. And a lot of people do. Like sometimes all it takes is a relationship to break up and someone ends up homeless. It's like that simple of a thing, right?
Yes.
And that is what I seek to do, is to get people to understand, like, hey, you need to like understand yourself and who you are as a human. So when this stuff happens, you don't crumble, because it's a relationship breaking up is not a reason to crumble.
Sure, it really isn't.
Like,
I'm sorry, folks, it isn't.
It
really
not.
isn't.
There's no, I cannot 100%, like, I will say that there is absolutely no reason. It doesn't matter how long you've been with someone. It doesn't matter the matter of the relationship. It's never a reason to crumble. And people do.
They do. You're right about that. And don't recover. I mean, like you, I've had partners die on me. I had 2. So I know that feel. I know. So you talk about not wanting to get out of bed the next day and talking about how hard that is. I'm back. I'm out, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just seriously, you can find a place for that stuff and move on. I don't believe in closure, so I don't believe in that word really. That's not.
Nope.
It's always open. It's always open ended. It just morphs and evolves into different things. So I miss him. I have a brother who passed away 3 years ago. His anniversary was the other day. I miss him all the time. I miss him every day. But there are different things I do throughout the day that kind of honor him.
Exactly.
Smile about him. It's like, he's dead. I miss him very much. I was devastated when it happened. And that doesn't just go away 5 years. Like, okay, now I'm better now. Everything's fine. He's gone. It's it. It's like, no, you have to, there's no time on grief, first of all.
No.
But 2, it's like, it just becomes part of I believe in energy. So it becomes part of the energy of your life.
Exactly.
That's how I feel about that. Just
100%.
You don't have to crumble. You don't have to crumble. I mean, you can be able to, you can have the emotions and feel the things you need to feel.
Yes.
But it's not the end of the world. I mean, it really isn't.
No, it's no. The end of the world, no one's going to see.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
We're all going to be dead if the world ends. So we're not going to see.
Right. Exactly. I like that, Lynn. I like that. Exactly. I do like that. I also want to ask you about what's this? Because I'm hearing some coach things. What is an assertiveness coach?
So I assist people in speaking their voice, taking really timid people who have a hard time speaking up and teaching them how to use it, how to say what they need, how to say what they want. Again, it comes back to a lot of times in relationships. It's something that you need to put your foot down and say, this is what I need in a relationship. Otherwise, you cannot expect your partner to know. And the whole mind reading games that people play in relationships is toxic. And a lot of things that people do in relationships are toxic, and they miss the part that a lot of the toxicity comes from not speaking up. And so regardless if it's relationships or career, or in life in general, I really help, especially, it's obviously mostly women who have been suppressed. Their voices have just been pushed down, and it's about tapping them into that. And sometimes I piss them off in order to do it. So then they can
love it.
Feel it coming up, and then they know what it feels like, okay, this is how I use my voice. And it's about pushing those buttons to get them to hey, what's holding you back? We need to find this, and I'm going to push until we get that, that voice stirring, because there's certain things in there that have shoved that voice away. And when you hit them, it triggers, and you can feel it in your body. When you get angry, it's because somebody just hit a button.
Oh yeah.
And that anger is useful. A lot of people like to push anger away, and we have this big thing about peace and love, and it's no, anger is there for a reason. We need to use it. And that is actually the way to get women to just use their voice in general. Do they typically get angry after these sessions? No, they just learn how to allow their voice to start coming out. And I had been in so many situations in coaching where women were just afraid to speak up. And I'm okay, we're just going to start the assertiveness process. And that was my first, let's just do it this way. And so, it's all about using the voice.
I immediately think, this is so funny. I'm so 80s. I love Amy Mann. I think she's a wonderful performer. She was in a group called Till Tuesday back in the 80s, and their big hit was Voices Carry. And
I love that song.
But you listen to the lyrics, it's about that kind of, she addresses how he keeps her voice down all the time. At
just
the end,
chills.
I know. I was saying, and she's like, he said, shut up. Why can't keep it down? Why won't he let me talk? She said, that's the very last line she says. And it's like, a lot of women and some children and some other people, other things, relationships, feel so suppressed and oppressed from whoever they're with that they're just boiling inside. They're sitting inside with all this stuff and they can't get it out. And I know that
and some men do too. I've worked with some men, very few, but there are some men out there.
I'm sure there are. No, I'm sure there are. I mean, again, we can't really look at gender
Exactly.
just right. It's out there. But I know a lot of women have especially been, suppressed over the years in society, we talk society and personally. And that's why the whole Me Too movement, the Time's Up, that had to happen at some point. I mean, again, I'm not surprised it's happening. But I do know that, some people feel, well, it's not ladylike, or it's not, it's so I don't want to be like a man, all this kind of stuff. It's like that emotions have no gender. Like emotions, feelings have no gender. It's okay to, express yourself. I have people in my life who are scared of confrontation because they view confrontation as bad. Confrontation isn't bad. Confrontation is confrontation. It's whatever you guys work out that it turns into. It's different, but to speak your truth or say something you need to say, it's never a bad thing. I think it's never bad, right?
We'll see. And that's why it needs to be rewired. Like confrontation in itself, like the connotation of confrontation is, yes, it's like you're butting up against each other's heads. Like there's a miscommunication, right? But when people learn to speak their truth, and this is like I'm writing a book right now, and one of the biggest parts of it is speaking your truth always. So many people subside the truth in some form because they're afraid of other people's reactions. And it's like, if we could just speak our truth from a gentle place, we don't have to be aggressive about it, but understand that we're not going to have the same views. We're not going to understand everything about what a person is saying, and that's okay. We don't need to understand each other. We just need to respect that people have different opinions and views. And when we can come from a place of communication that is easy and just pure honest, then other people start to learn how to accept honesty. Because the problem is we hold back our truth, and then the other person doesn't ever learn how to accept the honest truth because they're not given it. They're never given the opportunity to respond authentically because they're always being given a false version of the story. And it's like, it's a vicious cycle, and we have created that in this society of like, tone down the truth so then it doesn't hurt their feelings. And it's like, this is exactly why people overreact when they actually find out the truth, because the lie is the toxic part. It's not the truth, and it's not the response, it's the lie. Yes. And we can't have communication without confrontation until we learn that we have to offer the truth at every given moment.
When that book comes out, you come back on the show. I'll send it right now. I'm putting in my order.
Almost done.
I'm putting my order. Put that order in now for your time. You talk to all the other outlets. Come talk to me too. We're gonna talk about that, but I want to talk about it. I do. But no, I know that a lot of people speaking. I think that they always do these polls like, "What's the scariest thing in your life?" It's not roller coasters. It's not flying in planes. It's speaking. It's public speaking, speaking out, speaking for yourself. That is the scariest thing for people. Looking inward, scariest thing. These are all things that are scary. I mean, like, not bungee jumping, not all these other things. Like, they'll do that first. They'll do all that before they'll actually tell their supposed loved one that you don't do the dishes correctly. They won't say that. Won't say that. I will out my daughter. We laugh about this all the time. She will leave the dishes in the sink for him to notice, and if he's leaving there for her to notice, so the dishes never get done. Now I was like, girlfriend, you have a dishwasher. I'm like, what the problem is?
Right.
Laugh at that, but it is that whole thing of she's afraid to say something to him about it because this whole big thing. I guess he's just choosing not to say anything to her, but either way, inaction happens and nothing's happening, and then both of them are probably seething in the corners. They get blow up.
When it's such a simple solution.
Right.
And the funnier thing though is the sink is symbolic of something so much bigger. Oh, yeah. And that's the toxic thing is you can look around your house and be like, what is this symbolic of? Oh, it's something internal. I don't want to look at this. This is why I'm avoiding this.
Yes.
Because the second that you acknowledge the physical aspect, it's like, oh, now I have to go inwards. And people are just not, it's a difficult, that's why I stopped coaching.
But I love it. I still do coaching, but no, it's
I'm
funny.
making movies because I don't want to deal with
Girl,
people.
I don't blame you. I have fun with it. I mean, we're laughing about it, but
Right.
I'm seeing this stuff. It is kind of serious, and you have to laugh a little bit sometimes too. But it's like
You do.
but it is kind of this funny thing where it is something bigger, and but it's the thing that's kind of the small thing. It's just saying, you just sometimes put the dishes away. Like, I mean, like, I just would love to have your help by putting the
Right.
dishes away. Like, that takes 30 seconds to say that.
Right.
But it's like
And asking it.
and
It's
asking,
like a
and
question.
right, and asking it.
Like, can we figure out a system with the dishes?
There
Great.
you
We're
go.
both involved. Okay, awesome. What's going to work for both of us?
Right, exactly. I love that. That was less than a minute. She said that, and that was it.
Exactly.
A minute. That's all. I mean, that's all it took. And then you sit down, and you're not pointing the finger at each other
No.
necessarily. You're becoming a
Right.
team.
Exactly.
And saying, how can we do this?
Right.
That we both can be okay with. Then we
Right.
say our little thing, and then go, okay, that works. That doesn't work. And then you come to a
Right.
conclusion, and maybe it's every other night. You do the dishes tonight. I do them tomorrow. I mean, maybe
Exactly.
and then
Or is there something that one of them likes doing more that they could be like, okay, I'll
Sure.
do this part and you can do the dishes. Great, cool. You know?
All right, so I want to touch upon that. So you're like me. We're in media. We're content creators.
Woo.
We're in media. So what are you working on these days in terms of that in that area?
Okay, so right now I'm writing my book, and that's like a big thing because I'm almost done, and I'm really trying to wrap that up. And I am working on a documentary about trauma. Actually, I am.
Oh, okay.
It is about overcoming trauma and how to utilize trauma to your benefit, and the whole process that people go through with trauma and the misconceptions around it. And so I'm making a documentary. That's one of my big projects right now. And I have been teaming up with a few other people for some movies that are kind of like just in the works right now. We're talking about scripts and whatnot, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, I have to ask you because I'm in the business myself. I do TV shows and web and all this stuff. And so, what is one thing you're learning about this business? I'm laughing because there's a lot of things you can learn out of this. But what is one thing that you're learning about this side of things of creating documentaries, movie scripts, the whole production side of stuff?
I am coming at it from a completely different angle than just like jumping into it. So I set my rules, and the media that I create my business is Conscious Media Productions.
Yes.
So it is extremely conscious, and it's like if the messages don't fit what I'm looking for, I don't do it. It doesn't matter if someone's like, hey, here's this ridiculous comedy, it's pointless, we'll pay you $1 million. I'm not interested. Like, I'm not here for that. I'm here to create things that are going to get people to start shifting their awareness and waking up, because they don't have a forever time frame. Like, that's one thing that I can say. I've seen Earth from the distance. I've seen what's happening to it. Yes, it's getting better, but they have a time frame, and they need to wake up like quick. It's really, really powerful. I can dive into that at another time.
I'm agreeing with you. I believe all that. I believe it.
But with the media, there are certain people who I know that I want to work with because of who they are as people. But I take on the projects myself. Like the documentary, I'm doing completely on my own because it is something that I'm aware of. And I had someone who was working on it with me who I realized had not experienced any trauma, so they could not tap into the depth of the film. I let it go. I paid them a lot of money for that part, but I was like, you know what? This isn't going to work. It's not fitting what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to take it on myself. And so I think the way that I speak and that I'm so strong in who I am and what I have to offer, it's going to be people who are going to have to like check themselves and see if they're going to be willing to work with me. Because I'm not just going to hire anybody. It has to be in alignment with what I'm doing and what I'm creating. And I think that can be really intimidating for people. I've already, a couple people have sent me scripts, and I'm like, look, if you have a script where it shows conscious relationships and there is a pivotal turning point where people like actually wake up to their sobriety or to life or to whatever, I'm willing to listen, but otherwise I'm not interested, and I think that shakes people up because most women in this business, one, they don't open their mouth. And two, they're not willing to like say, no, this is what I'm looking for and this is what I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting process to see how people respond to me. But it's also beautiful to find the people who are like, yes, like this is what I want. This is what I want to create. And that's amazing. Like to find those people with the same passions, the same desire to create conscious media. It's profound.
I'm similar in the sense that I only do things I want to do. So, in my career, I mean, I've been in 13 years, and if you look at my career and the things that I've created or associated with, they're all things I can stand by. That's very
Yes,
important, folks.
beautiful.
Things I can stand by, things I can feel proud of. Well, yeah, some of my early shows, there were some mistakes and things back then, but they're all technical things. They're nothing that I can't not still stand by content-wise. That's very important to me. I have turned down big things because they weren't me. And I was like,
Amazing.
but I said, my friends and family who know me will see this project and know it's not me.
Right.
I'm talking reality stuff that I've been asked to do. I'm like, no, that's not.
Oh, no.
I know. I'm like, no.
Hey, we should create a real reality conscious TV show.
This is how life really is, kids. Not like what you see on there. And I like that. But that's the whole thing. There are things that I actually turned down. And there's money involved. I turned them down because I said, I can't do that. I'm not gonna. I could do it, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, it's just not. My soul would be just disrupted if I did that, so to speak. I can do it. So I've been very fortunate. Who I interview, who I don't interview. I've been very, almost aggressive about it on some level. But but it's like again, I'm in Hollywood. You got to be aggressive sometimes in a way. To have what you want, to do what you want. And so I'm in charge. I have my own online network. It's all me. And people that I work with were like-minded. I have fired folks. I have separated from folks. I've had folks that I thought it's gonna be so wonderful, and then you find out it isn't, and which is not always a bad thing. You just find out, okay, we're not really in the same vein. So that separates. And some we separated amicably, some not, that kind of thing. But either way, I can still wake up in the morning and I know that what I'm doing is actually trying to affect positive change in the world. That's my one thing. I do some silly stuff too, but the silly stuff, again, I can still stand by, and it's nothing too crazy. It's nothing crazy.
There's a difference between lighthearted and like
there you go.
Being able to like just sit back and relax into something like sweet and soft versus something genuinely stupid and just like mind numbing.
This is not for me. Other folks like that, good for you. When you come to JLJ Media stuff, it's not what you're going to see here. You're going to see, I started shows on being left-handed.
Are you left-handed?
I am.
Me
I am.
Too.
I'm left-handed. You're left-handed too? Oh my goodness, you're left-handed. Okay. Well, wait. Okay. We'll talk after this. I got a question for you. But yeah, I started showing it, and the left-handed show literally I've learned so much. I've done 20 episodes, and new episodes out today, actually. And I've learned a lot. And I literally talk to people who are stars and folks who aren't stars, and we strictly talk about being left-handed. But it's something I started, and no one else is doing it. So I'm like, let me do it. And it's been very interesting. So you're gonna be on the show. We're gonna so but anyways, the whole thing is that everything I do, I stand by, and I see that you're the same way. It's like everything you do, you can stand by it, and you can say whether it succeeds or fails, it's on your own merits. But either way, it's still yours.
Right. And the failures are still success.
Oh, I agree. I don't
believe that's why I'm like, just do it. Like, what do I have to lose? Just put it out.
Thank you. I say, all my friends laugh at me because I always say, just do it. That's always the answer. James Lott, just do it. I'm like, literally, just do it.
Yeah, if you want it, just do it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not good.
Nike.
That's really. I want my royalties right, Nike. I've been saying it for years. No. Linn, I talk to you forever, first of all. So that's crazy, but I got to end the show. And I don't want to. I don't want to end it. You're amazing. You're amazing, Linn. You're amazing. Thanks for all you do. Tell the folks out there where they can find you, and because I've been to your website, so you tell me your own words where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn. You can find me. I am not on any other social media sites purposely, but LinkedIn, I'm under there as Linn Rivers, Linn Rivers.
I'm gonna find you. I don't think I'm following you. I'm gonna find you.
Yeah, perfect. And you can go to my website, which is linnrivers.com, Linn Rivers with an S.com.
Yes, go there and follow. See what's going And I, of course, am James Lott Jr. You can follow me. We're all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. and all social media platforms. A Lot of Help is on Facebook. So go to A Lot of Help with James Lott Jr. And we're on YouTube at JLJ Media, where I have over 30 shows ranging from Star Wars to left-handedness to organizing, life coaching, all kinds of things in between. So go ahead and subscribe there and see if there's something you like and check it out. And this interview and others are on there. And share this interview, whether you see it or hear it, either way. Podcast listeners, hello. Thanks for listening. Pass it on to anyone you think needs to hear this. It's an important conversation. Go ahead and pass it on. If anybody wants to get in touch with her and you're afraid, I understand you're a little afraid, you can come to me and I will pass you on. I'll make the introductions. Because some folks, they get a little nervous. And so,
Don't be nervous.
No, don't be nervous. If you are, come to me and I'll pass you on to her. And you can talk to Lynn. But I want everyone to please. I know there's a lot of nature stuff happening out there. Snowstorms in some places, hurricanes in other places, the fires out here in California. Please be safe wherever you are. And I'm wishing everyone safety this whole week because I know it's really tough. And we'll see you next time.